Welcome to this presentation on Dressing for Success, brought to you by the Office of First Year Engagement and Professional Development at the University of the Incarnate Word. If you have any questions about the content presented here today, please contact us. We are located in the Kathleen Watson Enrollment Center, Suite 210. A lot of job seekers think that the key to really being successful in an interview is just answering the questions appropriately, and that's actually not the case. The way that you present yourself visually is going to be a large part of whether or not you move on to the next round. Now, obviously, it's not the most important, but the key is to really impress the interviewer with your professionalism from the first moment they see you. So one of the most important things is that you need to think of yourself and your job application as a product. You want to market that product. When you go to the grocery store, you're more likely to buy something that's packaged very nicely than something that's packaged very cheaply or it's just thrown together. So keep that in mind as you approach the job search process and the interview. As you can see on the slide in front of you, 69% of interviewers say that dress counts. But dress is not just the clothes you're wearing. It's also the way you have your hair, your jewelry and accessories, and the way that your whole image comes across. So it all sounds pretty easy, but here are the most common mistakes we see. The first being wrinkled, dirty, or ill-fitting clothes. Even a little bit of wrinkle in your clothes sends the wrong message to recruiters. And when we get to the ill-fitting clothes, you want to avoid any kind of clothes option that's going to be either too tight at the neck or the waist or too loose. Both of those extremes are not positive. The next thing you want to check for is that your hands are clean. That includes your nails, making sure that if you had them polished, that you either cleaned up the polish or removed it. Also, any kind of dirt and grime that you may have gotten in there during the day, say if your interview's in the afternoon or even in the evening. You also want to make sure that your hair is clean. You don't want hair that looks greasy. Even if it's that your hair is clean but you've used too much product, be careful about that because it can send, again, the wrong message. And believe it or not, another area where we see students needing improvement is things like scuff marks on shoes or just wearing the wrong style of clothes for their body shape. One of the things that you can do before you actually get to your interview is come in for a mock interview with Career Services fully dressed so that we can kind of critique you on what you're wearing and let you know if there's anything you need to do to improve your image. Lastly, avoid wearing too much jewelry that's too large or that stands out too much. You just don't know how the recruiter is perceiving your appearance, so you want to basically stay very conservative in your dress regardless of the industry. So with all of those mistakes in mind, what are you supposed to wear? For women, we would say to wear a suit. You can wear a skirt suit, which is very conservative, but you can also get away with pantsuit depending on the industry. If you have questions about the industry you're going into, please come see us. We can tell you very quickly if it's a pantsuit or skirt suit situation. Now, you want to stay conservative with that, so if you are wearing a skirt suit, you need to be wearing pantyhose. You also want to stick with closed-toed shoes. Under no circumstances do you want to wear shoes that have open toes. You'll notice when you shop for a suit as a woman, there are a lot of different styles with the jackets. You want to stick with a very formal jacket. You don't want to go with anything that looks too casual or something that you would see more on a weekend than on a work day. If you do wear a skirt suit, it needs to be knee length. You don't want to do anything too much shorter because, again, you don't know how the recruiter is going to perceive that. If it's a conservative industry, they're going to expect that you are dressed extremely conservative. Now, when it comes to the color of the suit, you want to stick with black or gray. You don't want a suit that has designs all over it. When you get to the blouse, you want to stick, again, with a more conservative color. We would typically say to go with a white or a light blue, something that doesn't stand out too much. You also want to make sure that things like your shoes and your purse match the suit that you've selected to wear. For men, a lot of the same guidelines apply. You want to stick to a dark suit. We would really recommend black or, again, the gray, combined with a white or pastel colored shirt. When you get to the tie, you don't want to tie with a crazy design on it, even if it's close to a holiday. And you also want to stick to a tie that's not really going to stand out, in a sense. So you want to avoid a color like red, which is typically perceived as a power color, and you want to really look at the rest of your outfit and if everything really matches. When it comes to accessorizing for men, The first thing you want to know is that your shoes should match your suit. You don't want shoes that are in a different color. As far as socks, you also want socks that complement the shoe and the pants. But you want to make sure that your socks are at least covering half your legs so that when you sit down, there's no skin showing. That's very unprofessional. So when it comes to ties, we've already discussed that you want to keep it kind of simple. It's going to depend on what the style is at the time, but you still want to avoid anything that's loud or anything that's considered a novelty tie. The safe bet is for a tie that has like a wide stripe. It's polka dotted in black, red, or burgundy. Something that's simple. I mean, even if you go with polka dots, they need to be tiny. But really, you can go with a plain colored tie as long as it matches your overall outfit. If you typically wear jewelry on a regular basis, you want to kind of tone it down for the interview. If you have facial piercings, you want to remove those. Also, if you have ear piercings, remove those. But you can stick to things like a wedding ring, a watch, anything you would see in a typical work environment. For women, the first thing we want to talk about is makeup. Not wearing any makeup may not be the best choice. Not everybody's comfortable with makeup, so if that is you, don't worry about it. But wearing at least a little bit of makeup, it just helps kind of polish the overall look. But if you wear too much, it starts calling attention to that. So you really want to seek a balance. And you can go online, find lots of pictures of professionally dressed women with makeup on that isn't too much or too little. Now, when it comes to jewelry, you want to stick with something that's small. You don't want any kind of earrings that hang down, one earring per ear, even if you have multiple piercings. One thing that you can consider is something like fake pearls. They're typically pretty cheap to find, and it looks very professional. You can't really go wrong with that look. Another thing is that you can wear rings, but you want to stick to one per hand, and you want to avoid bracelets. They make noise and they can be very distracting. Shoes can be one of the hardest things for women to pick for an interview. You want to stick with a low, comfortable pump, something that again does not show your toe, but you want to make sure that you can walk effectively in it and that you're going to be comfortable. Once you're a little bit nervous, if you're in high heels and you're not used to it, you can actually lose your balance and things like that just because of all the nerves. Some other notes for women: avoid any kind of see-through blouse. Sometimes you don't even realize it, but it is actually see-through, and anything that's too plunging. Once you sit down, you want to make sure that you still have it very clean cut and very professional. Also avoid any kind of short skirts or even a knee-length skirt that has a really long slit. Both of those things are considered bad news. You also want to make sure if you're wearing pantyhose, say with a skirt suit, that you don't have runs in it, and you'll want to avoid tight clothes. Now with hair, 73% of employers say that non-traditional hair color negatively influences the opinion of the candidate. So you want to make sure if you get your hair dyed, make sure it kind of looks a little more natural. There are some industries where you have a little bit more leeway, but that's again something to come talk to us about. And looking at the next bullet, 64% of employers state that non-traditional hairstyles negatively influence their opinion. So you don't want to try and stand out through your hair. Stick with something simple. You want to make sure that for males that your beards and mustaches are well trimmed if you do want to have them, but it is okay. You don't have to completely shave your face if that's not your normal look. You just want to make sure that whatever you're doing is very clean cut. Now for women, we often get the question on whether to wear your hair up or down. If you have a tendency to play with your hair, you definitely want to play it safe and put your hair up. But if you don't play with your hair, you can wear it up or down as long as it is still a very polished look. Thank you for listening to this presentation of Dressing for Success. If you have any questions, please contact us either by finding us in the Kathleen Watson Enrollment Center, Suite 210, or by phone or email.